Hey friends, Carmel Holt here. As you know, times are tough for public radio and audio. And as a tiny independent feminist production company that makes Sheroes for public radio and for this podcast, we're getting hit pretty hard with financial shortfalls. Simultaneously, this is a moment where women, trans folks, non-binary, and queer folks need a safe space to be heard. And at Sheroes, we're more committed than ever before to our mission of turning up the volume of underrepresented voices in music. But to keep going, I need your help. And I have big news. Sheroes has partnered with the nonprofit AIR, the Association of Independents in Radio, and we've launched our very first fundraising campaign. You can text Sheroes to 53555 to make a tax-deductible donation through AIR or visit sheroesradio.com. Thank you for supporting independent, femme-queer-produced audio and storytelling like the episode that you're about to enjoy. It's up to us whose voices get heard, and with your help, we'll keep turning up the volume.
So many women in the industry are told that they have to pop off by 21. I was a child at 21. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I was doing things that didn't make any sense. I don't want to be possibly famous at 21. I'm glad that I got the time to arrive to myself as a full person who knows they have faults, who knows they have things to grow on, who knows which direction they want to grow in. But if anybody came into my space and tried to push my boundary is set. And if you push me too hard, it's just a full ignore, which when women get to that place in their life, they become not fun to work with. They become a diva, they become a bitch. But really, those are all code words for, oh, we can't manipulate you into a position where we get to exploit your sexual appeal for capital gain. And I'm so grateful that I got to come to myself in my own time at an age where I can really stand in what I've made and be like, this is me.
That was Annahstasia, and this is Sheroes, a weekly podcast to amplify women, non-binary, and genderqueer voices in music across genres and generations. We believe that sharing our stories is the first step to making music better for everyone. I'm Carmel Holt. Friends, this week marks the 5th anniversary of Sheroes, and for our featured interview, I'm so thrilled to have singer, songwriter, and producer Annahstasia Enuke as our guest, not only because she made one of my favorite albums of 2025, but because her story is such a powerful reminder of the importance of staying true to yourself, listening to your inner voice, and not giving up, despite the challenges of working in a male-dominated industry. These themes resonate so deeply on a personal, professional, and sociopolitical level, and her perseverance and clarity are an inspiration for anyone who's questioned their path and felt like giving up. Annahstasia's name means resurrection or rebirth, and she spent the better part of a decade on the journey to finally finding the right team and the support that she needed to record and release her extraordinary full-length debut album, Tether. Its existence is a quiet and beautiful triumph, and we are here to celebrate it and welcome Annahstasia as this week's Shero in the Spotlight. Annahstasia Enuke, welcome to Sheroes. I am so thrilled to have you here.
I'm excited to talk with you.
So share with us this journey that you've been on, which I understand has been a long one.
It has been a long one. I don't ever really know where to start. There's the classic spiel of, I got into this when I was 17. It kind of got discovered.
Right.
And I'm from Los Angeles. So, you grow up hearing stories like that all the time. That's kind of the dream scenario. It's like kids getting discovered in Target for Disney Channel and
Right.
your big break at the local coffee shop. This is Tinseltown. So when it happened to me, it was surreal, but I guess part of it felt like, oh, this is just what happens. And at that point, I'd been told a few times by a few different people around the ecosystem of my school that I had a gift, but I wasn't planning on using it. Really, I was planning on using my other gifts to go into gene medicine, like gene science Funny
Oh,
enough,
wow.
recently, the research that inspired me to go into that field found its completion, and they are able to use mRNA and plasmids and gene therapy to end HIV as an illness that we
Wow.
have to deal with at all. It's amazing technology, and I'm glad that somebody finished that because I obviously had other things that the universe needed me to do. But anyway, that's the track I was on, and I didn't think music was really going to be the future for me because it wasn't practical, and because both my parents are artists and designers. I saw just how hard that life is,
Mm.
and they just did not encourage me to go down that same path. But somehow, this label exec convinced my parents to let me track a few songs, and that few songs led to a deal, and then that deal led to more things, more things, more things, more things. Ultimately, that was a bit of a dead end for me because I became aware very quickly that I wasn't interested in being part of the commercial music industry or the pop machine, because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, from the outside, you don't really know what that means. And when you're inside of it, you're like, oh, okay, full machine. I am just a cog in the machine. I am just a body that gets dressed and told what to do. And the sense of agency, especially as an 18-year-old girl, is like, there's all these men just like telling you what to do. And I had enough knowing of self to just say no and be very stubborn. And they didn't like
Mm.
that. So that didn't go well. And that was a long journey from like entering the industry that way to releasing something like Tether. And in that interim, I quit music many times. I
Mm.
had a whole other career as a model. I got a fine arts degree. I got a political science degree. I did a lot of things besides music for a long time because it was only presented to me as like, this is the only way for you to do it, for it to actually be a lucrative career. And if you don't want to do it that way, then you shouldn't even try. But obviously, my love of music kept me in cycle with other musicians and still making songs and producing things and writing. And when COVID came, we found all of ourselves locked inside. And for the first time in a long time, like many, many years, I picked up my guitar again and started
Mm.
to write from that perspective again. And I thought to myself, I never actually got to record the album or even the EP that I wanted to at 18. I was discovered playing, acoustic songs, and they took me way off that track, and I took myself way off that track. And I found myself there almost 10 years later and thinking like, okay, well, I never actually got to do that. So maybe now's the time. And maybe this is my last hurrah. We all had this impending sense of death at that time.
Totally.
And we didn't know how bad it was going to be. And it was really bad. But we didn't know if it was going to be like literally Armageddon. So I took my stimulus check and a little bit of savings that I had and recorded a 6-song EP called Revival. And it's called Revival because it's self-titled, because my name means resurrection, and also because there was a revival of my love for music as a process and for my agency within music and my role as a band leader and as a producer and as a songwriter. I had lost a lot of faith in myself in all of that time because of the intersection of industry and who I was and the type of artist I wanted to be, and it not lining up with capitalism very well.
Mm-hmm.
And in that project, I was like, wait, it actually is supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to just
Yeah.
like bring you joy
Yep.
and like be a good time. It's
Right.
not like supposed to be about making a hit or metrics or
Mm.
like trying to crack some code of virality. It's music is the soul. And I knew that going into it when I was 17, but there was so much that took me off of that path, and that was me coming to it. So since Revival, I've been really locked into this process of truth seeking. and seeking a sense of honesty within myself that also allows for my voice to bloom and to become what it is today.
Wow. Whew. And so much in there to dive deeper into and let's say unpack, right? Love that word, unpack all that. But before we continue, I would love to dive into a clip of a song. So if you were meeting somebody for the very first time and you just told them this story and as a setup for what you're about to hear, is there a song that you could point us to on Tether?
Yeah, I think it would be Be Kind. That's my introduction, and it's why it's the first song on the record.
That's track one, the lead track of Tether, the full-length debut album by Annahstasia. Our guest today on SHEROES, and I'm Carmel Holt. So we were getting your backstory and the journey that you've been on, which is, I hope it's not too cheesy to say, like, you know, everybody talks about the hero's journey. Here we call it the SHEROES journey.
Nice.
I know it's a little cheesy, but it's true.
Yeah.
In that Joseph Campbell kind of way. And when you said that it was, are you an astrology person by any chance?
Yeah.
So you were hitting maybe your Saturn return when all this was going down as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. Yeah.
Big time. So for those listening that don't know what a Saturn return is all about, it shakes shit up. You know, it's a 27-year cycle. And it will force you to deal with the stuff that you're not dealing with or that you're suppressing and push you to be more of your truer self. So it sounds like it was right on time.
It was right on time, yeah. And what's funny about the Saturn return is, like, if you're aware of it, you know, you dread it leading up to it. And so I remember being like 25, 26 and like being like, I'm really trying to work through the worst of it now because I'm like, I don't want my Saturn return to beat my ass. Like, it still beat my ass. I tried to do the work before, but it's just like you don't have the self-awareness yet, really, to do what it is just coming down the line. You just have to wait and see what the lessons are going to be.
Oh my God, I know. I feel that. And also, like, guess what? Now I'm about to hit my second Saturn return.
Wow.
Like in a couple of years. So I'm where you said you were when you were 25. I'm already thinking that about, you know, whatever, 54. Yeah, totally. I'm like, oh shit, here it comes again. So yeah, I mean, and how beautiful that it intersected with the pandemic. I mean, I know that was like such a dark and hard and sorrowful time, but it was also such a gift for, especially for creatives and especially for those of us who had not been tending to that inner voice, because it really forced us to just slow down and tune into that, you know?
Yeah, no, it really did. I mean, it was like a blessing for creatives because I found new mediums. I got back into mediums that I hadn't had time to tend to and explore since I graduated college. And it was just like an uninterrupted year of making. It was like my own personal artist residency, which it was funny because at the end of that, on theme with like Saturn return things, because it was, technically, I guess in Vedic astrology, the beginning of like the influence, like the shadow of when all of that really goes direct. But when everything started opening up again, I had made this group of friends just before the pandemic, and we kind of became our like social pod during that lockdown period. And that's the only people that we were seeing and hanging out with. And we were only doing hikes and like being out in nature or going over to each other's houses and having a glass of wine and talking about life and doing art together. And as the world started to open up again, I realized that we were such vastly different people. Like the minute the clubs were open, a lot of them were back doing their club thing. And I'm not a club girl, or like going to every single party or da-da-da-da. And I remember crying like, damn, we had utopia for a second. And now everybody's back to like the same bullshit.
I know. Isn't that so disappointing? It's like heartbreaking.
Yeah,
really.
It was heartbreaking. I was like, damn, I thought I knew these people, but I guess not. I mean, I guess
Right.
I knew a pure version of them, like a version of them that
Right.
exists outside of the hamster wheel. But the minute the hamster wheel started back up again, everybody went to their old functions.
It just tells you, though, how powerful the hold is of all of it, like those external isms, you know, of the capitalism, late stage capitalism, the patriarchy, white supremacy. I mean, let's just go down the list of all the isms that the systems that, you know, aware minded people rail against all the time, you know, and try to find our space in. But it sounds like, in spite of the disillusionment of losing that pod, you connected very deeply with your true personhood, you know?
Yeah.
So help us to get from that big major crossroads and coming out of your Saturn return to Tether.
Yeah, I mean, after that chapter, and like I said, I made Revival during that time. When I put Revival out, I didn't have a manager, I didn't have a label, I didn't have a publisher, didn't have distribution, didn't have a PR agent, nothing. Fully independent, no touring agent, nada. So everything related to Revival that I did completely on my own, and you know, just asking so many favors and running the ship like all night, burning the candle at both ends. But through that, I started to build a team. I found a manager that really believed in what I was doing, and I was able to find a booking agent from some opportunities, and it started to become a little bit more official, because at that point it was like I was seen as a model who did music.
Right.
And that was also most of the press that I was able to get, because I was kind of just working whatever angle I could. And anybody that wanted to write a story about me was like, model Annahstasia Enuke, like, just released a project. And it's like I was trying to escape that narrative, and having a lot of imposter syndrome around being a musician, because I had to have a job. And it felt very like classist, because it's like, how many Nepo baby musicians are there really? There's a few, and we know them, but it's like everybody else is a working class musician, and you have to have a job. My job just happened to be very public facing, and it's a job that found me and allowed me the time and the freedom to be able to still make music, versus all the other jobs I had, working in a gallery or working in a coffee shop or working in a ceramic studio. Those are all like physical labor jobs where you're showing up and you're spending real hours, and you only have so many hours in a day that you can't commit. That you can't then commit to music. So I was frustrated coming through that chapter and into music as a medium, because it's something that I had always been doing the whole time. And there was like 3 years in there where I felt like I was having to prove myself over and over and over and over again to so many different aspects of the industry. With Tether specifically, after I finished Revival, it took me about 3 or 4 years to get it out, because I was self-funding. So by the time that it came out, I was ready to record another project, very ready. And I had a lot of the songs that are on Tether already in my back pocket, and was looking for somewhere to record it. And I knew that, because of my experience with Revival, that I needed to record it live in a nice studio in a well-engineered space. That costs money. That costs money. Or you have to have the type of friends and people around you that have access to those things. And I went on that hunt for those people, and it just, like, when I say I spent 3 years making Tether, it's because the first time I recorded it, it was like literally in my apartment in New York, just in my living room on a simple one mic setup. And that was just for the purpose of being able to send it out and like demo it to people who might be able to provide me with free studio time, or want to help produce it, or want to help make it happen. I was still very anti-label at that point because of my experience with the majors, and I wasn't looking to be trapped. And the deal offers that I had received in that span of time were so deeply offensive that I was just like,
man,
you guys aren't serious. Like, the devaluation as a Black woman within the folk space is like so insane to watch, because I'm watching my white peers who are making very similar music get offered like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then at the same point in their career, starting out relatively unknown. And then
Yeah.
on my back end, I'm looking at deals that are like, oh, we'll give you $50,000 and we want to own 80% and for the rest of your life. And you're like, you're like, do I look like an idiot? No. $50,000. Like, I would rather work 4 jobs than do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what I was doing. And I was just biding my time and I was waiting. And I did that first run of demos. And then I had a friend, Rex Kudo, who had an amazing spot in the Palisades that unfortunately burned down. But while it was up, it was just this like carousel of like musicians that would come in and through there. And he opened his space up to everyone. The door was literally never locked.
Wow.
Anybody could come by and make music and use the studio space. And it was his home. Like, he lived there and he was just such a deeply generous person with it. And he offered up that space to me to make the album. So I called up my friends. I flew some people in from New York, from my New York crew. And we shacked up in that house and recorded Tether 2. But that's where we ran into the issue of sound and engineering. I realized that, unfortunately, I am an expensive artist. There's just aspects of like recording my voice particularly that require very good gear and also expertise in knowing how to use it. And doing the thing where like you plug into, you know, a $500 microphone through a Scarlett interface into it, just, it's not an option for the type of music that I want to make. And so we got those songs back, and no matter who I asked to mix it, it just sounded muddy. It just was like, it was just recorded wrong.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that was all a dub. That was another few $1,000s in the trash that I didn't have, that,
Oof.
you know, okay. Still don't have a label, still, you know, modeling for income, still just trying to like figure out how to make this thing work. But at that point I was touring, kind of. I was like getting asked to play shows and going out of pocket to get there and trying to build my touring repertoire. So it was a very weird time where I was like one foot in this career and one foot in this career, trying to make it work, but nobody in the industry was biting in a way that would give me resources. And at Rex's house, I met Jason, and Jason later is who engineered and produced Tether with me. And that was like an angel sent from heaven, because he called me up a few months after I was at Rex's and he's like, hey, I just wanted to like check in about what you guys were doing, because I really love the sound, but it was being recorded terribly. The engineering was ass. I didn't want to say anything because it's not my place, but I was just wondering if you wanted to work on some stuff together. I think I could really help, you know, capture your voice. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who Jason later was. I didn't even look him up. I just remember meeting him at that place. We jammed that night when he was there. Lovely vibe. And next time I was in LA, he had me come by Shangri-La, and we just A-B'd rooms in that whole compound and microphones and found the perfect blend of things. And he was like, you need the right room, you need the right vocal chain, you need this microphone, this, da, 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 and this is how we got to do it. And he's like, I'm ready to record a fully acoustic album with you right now, just you and your guitar. And I was like, well, I mean, if we already have like all of this, like, why don't we just bring the band in? And he really didn't want to do that, because he didn't want to ruin the magic of like, I guess, what he saw in me on my own. And what's beautiful about that is that I hadn't met any producers up to that point in Los Angeles who had ever been like, you are enough on your own. Just you and a guitar can hold the space. You don't need the other people. No one had ever said that to me, and nobody had ever like tried to insist upon it either. He had me track most of the record that way, and it was still my decision to bring in instrumentation. But that's why when you listen to the record, there's so much spaciousness. It's because it was from the perspective of there being nothing. of recording it many times with no additional instruments. So the arrangements are all super delicate and super intentional and meant to only like provide lift and context where needed, or I felt it was needed. And in that window, we're still searching for deals, still searching for the right person, because it's like now we've come to the conclusion that, oh, okay, we need to record it this way. Well, a good studio, a Shangri-La, costs about $3K a day buyout for the room. So, you're not recording an album in a day. You need multiple days. So now, okay, how many days do you need? A week, 2 weeks, 3K per day. That adds up. And then you've got musician rates, and then you've got food for all those musicians. And it's like and then mixing and then mastering. So I was looking at a hard number, and I just had that in my brain. And I was like, this is how much I need. Like, I'm just not even going to attempt to keep making this album until I have this amount of money or till somebody offers that. And in that whole scuffle, I was playing all these shows, doing these things. This guy, Nigel Mack, he came to one of my shows in New York, and he didn't even say hi to me that day. I just got an email from him like a week later with a contract at the bottom. He was just like, hey, I started a subsidiary label under a label that you've talked to in the past. I really want to work with you. I don't want to waste your time. Here's what we're thinking. Just straight up. And I appreciated the lack of wasting my time, because I'm sure like, they will just have you in endless meetings. They will have meetings till their balls fall off. And it was so nice to have a scenario where someone was like, I love what you do. I saw you live. I have the resources. Here's what it's looking like. From there, we were able to negotiate something that worked. And then I was able to get started on Tether pretty much right away, because I already had all of the people in place. But it was this 3-year journey of like so much patience and not knowing how I was going to get anything done and how I was going to do any of it, not knowing the right people, not having the right engineer, the right musicians, the right budget, And through patience, just watching it click slowly into place. And when finally the funds came and the right deal partner came, where I felt safe and I felt like they weren't going to intrude on my artistic process, I had all of the tools that I needed then lined up, and all of the champions lined up to like go in and record that record. So it was like a combination of divine timing, but also like a lot of internal resolve, because there were many points in that journey where I severely doubted this journey as an artist and whether or not it was even, that's what kind of Silk and Velvet's about. It's like there's that line in there, sometimes I wonder if it even matters if I make a sound or I'm silent through the chatter. Like, that's how I was feeling in that time. I wrote that in the depth of that time, that somehow I find hope to like keep trying or like being open to things working out. But I don't really know if it matters whether or not I make this record. And when there's no clear path on how to get from A to B, you just feel like, what am I even fighting for? But part of fighting is maybe just surviving long enough to see it work out. And I think that's what I found in this process.
I'm going to cry. That's so beautiful. What a story. Let's play a little clip here of Silk and Velvet.
See my dreams fulfilled.
Annahstasia is our guest today on SHEROES, and this incredible debut album is called Tether. She's our guest, and that was Silk and Velvet. I'm Carmel Holt. Oh, what an inspirational story. And again, I come out on the other side of that going like, I have 10 more questions and we need another hour to talk about this. I've heard so much here about time lost, but also how much you gained during this time, and like how well prepared when the moment came you were for it and for this. What can you share with us about your journey being a woman, and not just a woman, but as you've already said, being a Black woman, making folk music, the shit deals that people were throwing your way? That's one thing that we've talked about already. But like, how about all of the other stuff? Studio settings, finding your team.
Yeah.
These are the things that I was like mentally tabulating, like, wow.
Yeah, a lot of filtering through agendas. I think what sucks about the hardest thing about being a woman in music is having to filter through so many agendas in a male dominated industry. It's like, do you actually believe in my music or do you want to sleep with me?
Right.
Or do you actually believe in my music? Or do you think that I am easily manipulated? Like, there's always these questions of like, okay, you're offering this. What am I having to pay with for it if
Mm.
I don't have money or resources or access to things? Which is such an unfortunate position to be put in as an artist because it puts you on the defense and
Right.
it puts you in a heart space of you're closed off and you're like constantly making sure that you're protected and you never close your eyes. But making music is such a process of trust. So it's antithetical to the
Mm-hmm.
process of like growing as an artist to
Right.
constantly have to be watching your back. So when I was building my team, I had had many managers over the years and all of them men. And I've had really weird experiences, bad experiences with some of them, and just like tepid experiences with others. But the core of it was that I think there was unfortunately, a natural dehumanization of me as an
Mm-hmm.
artist. There's already these like things within the music industry that are founded on, feudal slave contracts and sharecropping contracts and the Chitlin circuit and how that was such a core tenet of like how the touring industry was established. And like there's all of these residuals of racism within the music industry that already dehumanize the artist and see the artist as a body that is meant to labor and be exploited and be profited off of. But then to be a woman in that space on top of that, there's a cultural metric for that as well, where the woman is only worth her contribution, her output, her labor, and her service to the patriarchy. And as much as like I don't think that people are going into things consciously being like I want to subjugate you, a lot of it is subconscious. A lot of it is reinforced by the general culture and also the culture of the corporations, the culture of the groups.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who is super aware. I've always been like this. I've always been that kid that kind of sits on the outside, doesn't have that many friends. That's like, that's so weird that that's how that goes. Like, do you guys know that, like, you don't have to do that? Like, why is everybody
Yeah.
just going along with this?
Yeah.
I was always that kid, that odd one out that was like, this is such a weird way to go about things. Why is it this way? I was always asking why. And when I was confronted with the things that the music industry just accepts as standard, I just refused to sit within it. I couldn't sit within it because the standard is so the bar is in hell for the standard of the music
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So, when I was looking for my team, it got to that point where I had to be very strict about demographic. I was like, I only want a queer female team.
Yep.
I was just at that point straight up ignoring any outreach from anyone that wasn't a queer woman because I felt like I had just seen the extent of where that would take me and I was sick of and it's also there's that but you also have to realize as a grown adult that just because somebody else is queer and a woman does not mean that they follow or understand the same systems that you witness. There's different levels of awareness, there's different levels of education, and there's different levels of harm that happen with people who are still acting within those systems, even if they are,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
queer or a woman. So there was still a level of discernment from there, but it was just like, this is the gateway. It's like, I at least have to know that we have experienced some of the same things for you to know where I'm even coming from, for you to advocate for me and to protect me as a part of my team. And those people slowly came in, they slowly found me. And I'm so blessed now to have that team of amazing women behind me.
Mm.
And they are my champions. And everybody that is on the outside of that is supportive to that core group. But it's a constant fight that I'm always noticing. And you can't really play comparison games, but it's like, it's hard to find another reason why it's so hard to find robust funding for my project. It's like, you've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be any doubt now, but I still receive offers for shows that are well below a reasonable rate. I still receive, pitches to do things, and it's for exposure. I still receive a lot of requests for free labor, literally all the time. And that's because that is the standard. It's like, if you want your project to do well, you should now do all of this extra free labor on top of the free labor that you did to make the project, on top of offering the project for free, basically on streaming. It's like, okay, I know it's really messed up for all musicians, but it seriously feels like people who are getting the shortest end of the stick are working class musicians of color who don't have anything else to fall back on. And then the system reinforces that if they don't have the metric or the number, that then you can't justify giving them the funding. When it's like, I had to do 10 times more to even get to this place and have this platform than the white folk musician who just made their first album and immediately gets put on all of the country and folk playlists and doesn't have to go and talk to the people who run the playlist, kiss their ass, have multiple follow-up meetings. It's like, they don't have to do that because they're seen as legitimate in that genre. But I have to prove that I'm legitimate in that genre, as if folk and country and bluegrass, all of it is not African music, African diaspora music. All genres are.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's like, it's just so ass backwards and such a waste of my time. As you were saying, it's like, I've seen I can't remember whose quote it was, but she was like, it wasn't Nina. I don't think it was Nina. I feel like it must have been Toni Morrison, but I don't want to misquote anyone. Where she said, when you don't have privilege, you pay in time. And I feel that deeply. If I didn't have to be so slippery in maneuvering so many trappings of the industry, I don't think it would have taken me 10 years to put out my debut album. I'm really grateful for that time because it allowed me to grow and develop as a woman, which so many women in the industry are told that they have to pop off by 21. And it's I was a child at 21. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I could have been swayed any which way. I was doing things that didn't make any sense. I don't want to be possibly famous at 21. I'm so glad that happened. I'm glad that I got the time to arrive to myself as a full person who knows they have faults, who knows they have things to grow on, who knows which direction they want to grow in. But if anybody came into my space and said, tried to push my boundary is set. We can negotiate. You can try and change my opinion, but for now, it's set. It's here. And if you push me too hard, it's just a full ignore, which when women get to that place in their life, they become not fun to work with. They become a diva. They become a bitch. But really, those are all code words for, we can't manipulate you into a position where we get to exploit your sexual appeal for capital gain.
Yep.
That's literally all that translates down to. And I'm so grateful that I got to come to myself in my own time at an age where I can really stand in what I've made and be like, this is me. And so whatever comes of it, I'm down to have a conversation about.
Fuck yeah, to all of that. And also, by the way, you could have very easily traded on, when everyone was trying to put you in that corner of, model turn musician or model musician, you could have traded on that like that. Mm-hmm. You could have made that decision to be like, you know what? Everyone thinks I'm hot, male gaze, here you go. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to do it for the sake of getting my shit out there faster.
Yeah.
But instead, you stuck to your integrity, your, authenticity, and, like staying true to who you actually really are,
Yeah.
which is so wise and says that you are in this for the long haul, because guess what? Like, according to the, traditional beauty standards, you know, like you said,
Mhm.
they want you to pop off at 21. You know how many women I've talked to on this podcast who were told by their label, like, A, don't have kids,
Mm.
and because it will ruin your career, and you have to hurry up because women have a shelf life.
Mhm.
And once you get past a certain, and they're like in their 20s,
Yeah.
they're
I was-
already thinking that they're running out of time.
Yeah, I was told that. I was told if I didn't see success by 26, I should quit.
Mm.
Straight up, don't even try past 26. But by multiple label executives and people high up in the industry. Nuts. And I
Nuts.
internalized that. I remember hitting
Of
26
course.
and having a full meltdown like, damn, it's over. It's never going to happen for me. And then I got over myself.
I'm so glad that you did. Oh my God. Let's get to another track. Is there any song on this album that you would be like, yeah, hear this as like my feminist track?
It's actually waiting, because as much as it sounds like I'm waiting for maybe a lover to return, it's actually about abandoning myself and my higher self having the patience to wait for me to return. And that like act of self-love and being like, hey, it's okay that you kind of got lost there. We're back. Welcome home.
Thought I saw you yesterday.
That's Waiting by Annahstasia, our guest today on SHEROES. The full-length debut album is called Tether, and I'm Carmel Holt. So we were talking before about, I said something about how you could have taken the easy route and you didn't.
I will just say, because it's not easy to take the other route. And there are women that do it, and they do it so well, and they become like muses that still maintain their autonomy. And I fully respect it. And it cannot be easy to do, to be living in that
Thank
space.
you. You're right.
But
I
they
didn't-
do it of their
Yeah.
own volition and of their own will. And it's really cool to see them navigate that. And it's just snaps to them. It's just something I knew that I wasn't able to do.
And I think I should have said the faster, not the easier.
Yeah.
Quicker
Quicker
route.
route.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for correcting me.
Mhm.
I think you're right about that too. Also, then once you commit to that, how do you maintain it?
Mhm.
You know?
That's what I was thinking about, because it's like when the beauty quote fades and like I age, like I don't want my music career tied to my access to being attractive. I use my beauty, the beauty that I've been given, to definitely open doors and like bring people into the fold. But I understand that it's temporary and that I do want to be making music, well into my 60s. And I'm not going to be trying to sell sex in my 60s, because
Right.
I don't really want to sell sex now. So, like I just want to be respected as a person who makes good music. So I just want to set myself up for that.
So I was going to just ask you about like, how do you navigate? Because it's interesting to talk to somebody that's had the job of being seen, had the job of the gaze. I'm not even just going to say the male gaze, like just the gaze on you. The SHEROES conversation has happened with so many women who are uncomfortable with that and, wish that the visual part could just go away. I've heard from some people, like, just forget about all of this and my female form. I just want to be taken seriously for my music. Just listen to the music, Of course, then there's the other side where there are women who feel like, I just love how it feels to wear, sexy outfits on videos and in photos and on stage. I feel powerful that way. I love my body. I want to, show it off. And all respect to that too. There's no right or wrong way, but it's an interesting thing to explore, like I'm saying, especially with somebody who has modeled for their career. How do you think that that has shaped your relationship to how you present as a musician?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in some ways, I'm really grateful for how, I mean, just period, really grateful for how everything unfolded, because modeling as a career, that me falling into that career gave me a very practical close-up look of what that other path musically would have looked like. I have a fine relationship with being perceived because I've always been perceived. I
Right.
was always in social environments where I was the odd one out. Either I was the only Black kid around, or I was the only woman there, or, I've just been in a lot of situations where I'm the only one of me there in terms of what's visually identifiable about me as a person. So I think I grew up with a comfort in being seen. And part of what I love about being on stage is like the control of that narrative. It's like you're very much seen, but you also now have all of the control and all of the attention about what people see and what they hear and what
Hmm.
they walk away with, which brings me a lot of comfort. For other people, they're terrified at the stage because I think they feel like the audience is projecting onto them some sort of expectation. But I actually see it as the opposite. The audience is there without any expectation. They're just there for you to do with what you want to do with them, essentially.
Hmm.
Which kind of like doms or like flips the script of what I feel like it is to be a woman in society normally, where it's like people are constantly projecting onto you. And it was interesting to be in a career where my job was to become the projection. It
Right.
was to become the ideal. And within modeling, there's this term that can become very racialized depending on the situation. But you hear it all the time when they're talking about what to dress you in, or like what kind of makeup to put on you, or the background setting, and it's aspirational. They always will say, I don't know if that's very aspirational. And sometimes that's in reference to you wearing gold hoops. That's like, it's not really that aspirational. And of course, that's racially coded, because it's like, what's not aspirational about a Black woman wearing hoops? What are you trying to say there? And sometimes they'll be like, oh, like, if we put you in this, or this, that makes it more aspirational. And what they mean by that is like, your job is to be the dream. Your body in a modeling context is the placeholder for every other woman in that's seeing this ad to think, I can be like her. If I
Hmm.
buy this product, if I put this outfit on, then I'm going to feel like it looks like she feels. That's what we're selling. It's acting, it's propaganda, it's fully a marketing machine. And so what I'm thinking about in this being my career is like, hey, it's a job. I'm signing up. I'm good at it because I have a very analytical mind, and I can break things down to be to the point of like, oh, if I do this and I do that and I do that, that equals aspirational, and that's what they want here, and that's easy enough to do. Okay, done. It just felt very natural and easy for me to do as a job. But the whole time I'm doing it, because people aren't talking to you, they're not asking your opinions, they're not asking you what you do in your free time. You're just a body. You're basically a mannequin. It's not like a glamorous job. I get to be in my brain fully dissociated during most of that work.
Wow.
And at first that was nice because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my music. It was kind of on the back burner of like, I don't know where to go next. I fell out of this label situation. Now I'm just doing odd jobs. So it was nice to step into aspirational roles, to step into that woman who's like fun and free and like knows what she wants to do and looks really good. It was nice to play her
Mm.
and to try on that suit. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, what do I want my music to sell? Because what I'm selling right now is this product. I'm selling the dream that, this product is going to fulfill you in some way. That's what I'm selling through being aspirational. So now if I wanted to use my body in the same way as the billboard, as the marketing machine for my music, what in my music would I want to be selling in that way? And I couldn't come to any conclusion about that making sense. It just, if I was making dance music, if I was making pop music, if I was making a different genre of music, that would have been what I did, because I already have such an understanding of how to do it. And in those genres, you're selling the fantasy, you're selling the distraction, and that has its value in the cultural landscape. But my music, I wanted to be about honesty, and I didn't want to have to play a character. That was a big thing for me, is like, I wanted to be human. I wanted to rehumanize being an artist. That's what I wanted my space to be. I wanted people to look at me and be like, that is a person who eats, sleeps, shits. That is not a two-dimensional figure who just like put on this pedestal, who, you know, in 3 years gets womaned because like you've put her so far up on this pedestal that there's no way that the actual human being could live up to it. I wanted to be super intentional about presenting myself in a way that felt sustainable. And I'm not selling myself as aspirational. I'm selling myself as, well, it's all selling. We're all selling ourselves. I'm selling myself as honest. And honesty is just being able to have enough awareness of the present that what you relay about that present is what's going on. To me, that's what honesty is. So it changes all the time. The truth changes all the time, and it's constantly shifting. But one day, you know, I want to wear a nice dress, and I want to put a bunch of makeup on, and I want to take some cute photos, and I want to look nice, and I want to relish in the levity of my youth. That's fully my right, and I'm going to do that when I feel like doing that. But some other days I feel like a bag of chips, and like I don't want my me like not feeling beautiful that day to affect how I show up in the world. I shouldn't feel like I can't show my face because I have a zit, or because I haven't gotten my hair done, or my nails aren't painted. I should feel like I can show up just as much as I showed up on the day that I felt real cute. And the music and the reception to my craft is the same. Other artists have that luxury. Painters have that luxury. Ceramicists have that luxury. Architects have that luxury of just being a person. And like, sometimes they get glammed up for things, but mostly they're just a person. But women in music have to kind of make that choice if they're going to be the character of themselves, or if they're going to be themselves. And being themselves is so vulnerable, because there are days when you just aren't glammed up and you're still being perceived. You're still being subjected to the gaze, and, you know, people are going to bully you for having armpit hair, or for not waxing, or for whatever they want to bully you for. But like, you have to like get to a place within yourself where you don't care. But if you're constantly feeding the machine, that's what I found. Like, when you're constantly feeding the machine, it gets really hard to step off and to numb or dull those voices. So I hope that answers your question. I feel like it's like,
yeah,
it's just a bucket of information that I received from that career that helped me to make informed decisions about how I wanted to be in music.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I just had a conversation with somebody about when they were coming up in music, how when they first encountered gay women doing this job, what a game changer that was for them. Because suddenly it was like experiencing an audience that wasn't there to sexualize the people that were on stage was just totally different and eye-opening. And they realized, like, oh, that's what I want. That's exactly what I want, you know? And it's just so interesting, you know, to think about what a different landscape it would be if all of us could be free of that, you know, like that we could walk through the world and be our human selves and our creative selves without that pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I think it's a time thing, man. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think about this a lot around my hair as an analogy. It's like, I have to spend time on my hair. Like, it doesn't just, I can't just wake up and roll out of bed and go outside. I can't, because if I did, my hair would get so matted that I would have to shave it. And that's a choice. I could shave it. But if I want to have hair, I have to maintain it. I have to tend to it. My hair takes time. It takes at least an hour of time if I'm having it out, or 12 hours of time if I'm getting it braided, or another 12 hours to take those braids out. And I think about like how the world, because I've had to interface with this particular thing so many times, with clients asking me to change my hair, or people not understanding when like we do have glam, that hair takes this amount of time because it's black hair, and they have set the standard to white people's white hair, and how manageable it is and easy to do it is. And I'm constantly having to tell people about like, oh, this is the time that it requires to look like this. But the standard remains the same for you to like look presentable, quote unquote, but the time is not given. And so you're borrowing the time from your own free time. And it feels to me like an analogy for the feminine experience in general, where it's like the amount of time that you invest in your looks is taken from time invested in other things. And it's constantly this equation of like, how much do I want to dedicate to this outward facing thing that does reward me with certain things, looking a certain way, versus spending that practicing my instrument, or learning a new skill, or cleaning, or doing my accounting, like all of the other things that like you have to do in life. You have to add on top of that looking nice, which men don't have to consider almost at all. And I just think that that's interesting, this equation of time, and how like everybody pretends like we have the same 24 hours, but we don't all have the same 24 hours because there's different expectations put on us.
Oh, man. I've never heard it really framed that way. Yes to everything you just said. We're changing shit right now. Just by talking about this. Okay, so I know we have to wrap up. I feel awful. We didn't even really get into like a couple of other things that I wanted to talk to you about, like your incredible guitar playing, your production work. I think we're going to need another podcast episode.
A part 2, yeah.
A part 2. But just real quick, before we wrap up, I do want to just acknowledge that, both of those things. And anything you want to say about or tell us about your journey with your instrument? I know you were self-taught, like you're so adept and articulate on your instrument. You know, I think there's a lot of talk about your voice, but I don't want to downplay your beautiful guitar work.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I really don't see myself as a guitar player. I feel like I've learned my guitar functionally, as in like I needed to write, and guitar is my ship that carries me over those waters. And I'm constantly trying to get better. I'm constantly trying to get over the guitar plateau, as they say. So thank you for the compliment. I really have a lot of imposter syndrome around the guitar, because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what chords I'm playing. I don't know what notes I'm playing. I do everything by ear and by instinct. And that gets me a lot of places, and as it should, because music has always been on instinct, long before there was notation or anybody, could name what a scale was by numbers or letters. So yeah, I mean, it's a constantly evolving thing, but at this point, it's become like my partner. And my guitar is actually named Boyfriend, which is hilarious. It's the only man in my life. And she's just my companion in so many ways, and we grow together. Like, I'm constantly learning that instrument, and there's so much that I don't know, and so much that I'm trying to train my fingers and my hands to do that's in my head. And it's a beautiful journey to be on. That's all I really have to say about it.
Annahstasia, thank you for being with us today. What a special conversation. And I'm going to give you a magic wand before we say goodbye and ask you to make a wish. The SHEROES Magic Wand has the power to change anything in the music industry for women, for non-binary folks, for queer folks, for BIPOC folks, for anybody that doesn't have an equal platform, an equal say, an equal place. First wave of the wand, it's like a first thought, best thought exercise. What would you change?
I would get rid of streaming immediately. That's the first thing that came to my brain. Just get rid of streaming.
Love it. May it be so. I'm down with that. I'm down with that plan. What song should we close with today?
I mean, the closer, Believer.
'Cause I get lonely, and I know you get lonely too. Can I be lonely here with you?
Well, thanks to Annahstasia. Thank you for being with us on SHEROES.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Can I be lonely here with you?
Massive thanks to Annahstasia for being with us. Her full-length debut album, Tether, is available everywhere on indie label Drink Some Water. SHEROES is produced by me, is mixed and mastered by Kelly Drake. Our original theme music is by Lucius. Our podcast is distributed by Talkhouse. SHEROES is also a nationally syndicated radio show. Please visit SHEROESradio.com to find out more. Keep in touch on Instagram at SHEROES Radio, and please consider leaving us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also subscribe to our new YouTube channel, SHEROES Productions. SHEROES is 100% independent and is made possible through the support of our public radio affiliates and now listeners like you. Through a new partnership with the nonprofit AIR, the Association of Independents in Radio, we've launched our very first fundraising campaign. Text SHEROES to 53555. That's SHEROES to 53555 to make a tax-deductible donation through AIR or visit SHEROESradio.com. Thank you for supporting independent, femme, and queer-produced audio and storytelling. And until next time, remember, music is our superpower. I'm Carmel Holt. Thanks for listening. Also from SHEROES Productions, take a journey on the road to Joni, an Ambie Award-nominated 10-episode series celebrating the legacy and impact of Joni Mitchell. Distributed by Talkhouse. Subscribe now to The Road to Joni wherever you get your podcasts.